Human Settlement Outstanding Contribution Award winner. This is an award that was supported by the United Nations. Leadership Governor of the Year 2018, Hallman of the Year 2020, Hallmarkman, sorry. Silverbird Extraordinary Personality of the Year 2020, Daily Independent Governor of the Year 2020 on road infrastructure. Like I said, these are just a few out of over 40 national and international awards. Please give him another round of applause. Governor Nyesom Wike also holds several traditional chieftaincy titles. They are too numerous to mention here. He is a devout Christian, he is highly disciplined and principled. He is bold and courageous. His Excellency is happily married to Honorable Justice Mrs. Eberechi Suzette Nyesom Wike, a High Court judge with the Rivers State Judiciary. He is blessed with 3 very lovely children. The Commandant, sir, eminent members of faculty, distinguished course participants. Please join me with a round of applause as I most respectfully invite the Tok Nadu Governor of Rivers State for his lecture.
Please be seated. The Commandant, Deputy Commandant, members of the faculty, participants, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Before I proceed, let me correct, because I don't want to live here and they said I have impersonated. They added a certificate I never had. So it is better I tell you the one I have and the one I don't have. I have never gone to read for master's, so I cannot have master's degree. But I have a first degree in political science and a first degree in law. So I'm satisfied with that. So thank you for the one you have given. Thank you. Let me also apologize that I came in late. This lecture was supposed to hold yesterday, but because of the visit of Mr. Vice President, and then he left, it was late. So I tried to see whether I can meet up early this morning. You know, I've never slept in Abuja. So I would have come yesterday to sleep again this morning. But you see, you can't learn left hand at old age. So that's why I had to leave this morning from Port Harcourt. For the past 3 years, I don't think I've slept in Abuja, because those who elected me are not based in Abuja. Let me honestly thank the Commandant of the Institute for inviting me to come and participate in sharing ideas, because today too I'm a participant, even though you say I should lead the participants. So I want to thank you. It is an honor. This is my second time in this institute. And luckily, I'm going to share ideas with members of Course-14, who, of course, the participants come from within Nigeria and West African region. I was asked to share ideas or speak on the topic governance, security, and sustainable development in Africa. Nexus, challenges, and prospects, the experience of Rivers State. Why this is an important theme that speaks to the contemporary and contending issues of governance, security, and sustainable development in Africa. What bothered me was why Rivers State, a subnational unit, should be a metaphor for addressing these fundamental issues concerning Africa. Well, the Commandant has his reasons, which I do not intend to question. For me, a very senior security officer has commanded a bloody civilian to speak, and I'm here in obedience to his command. So let me still thank the Commandant for this rare privilege of speaking before top security and intelligence officers drawn from the West Africa sub-region. Let me introduce, by way of introduction, with over 1.3 billion people, Africa is the second most populous continent in the world, with youths constituting over half of this population. The continent is blessed with enormous mineral deposits, large arable land, and favorable climatic conditions. Indeed, Africa is a continent with great and profound socioeconomic opportunities. However, despite being great in human and natural resources, Africa is yet to achieve its overreaching socioeconomic objectives of meaningful development and ensuring decent living conditions for the vast majority of its population. Poor governance, economic dependency, rapid population growth, coupled with climate change and uncontrolled exploitation of natural resources, continue to degrade the continent's environment such that floods, epidemic diseases have become common spectacles across the continent. Almost all African countries are characterized by a combination of weak and ineffective economic and political structures, unimpressive economic growth, and lack of development. Poverty is at the increase, with Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa notoriously hosting the world's poorest people, who are living daily below the poverty line of $1. Unemployment, especially among the youth, remains troubling, while per capita income, life expectancy, access to healthcare, education, and social security is abysmally low. No African state was able to meet the Millennium Development Goals, while the Sustainable Development Goals may equally continue to be shifting targets. Lately, the continent is increasingly immersed in insecurity and instability, including the resurgence of coups in West African sub-region, protracted interstate armed conflicts and terrorism, with adverse consequences to continent's livelihoods and sustainable development. the reasons for Africa's miserable living conditions. The reasons for Africa's miserable living conditions and the solutions thereof have continued to elicit lively debates from both political, academic, and learner cycles. However, among several factors, there is consensus around the preconditional role effective governance and human security can play in advancing sustainable development in Africa. Therefore, taking Rivers State as a metaphor, this paper interrogates the concept of governance and security as a core aspirational values for driving the achievement of sustainable development for Africa. The paper is structured in sections. Part 1 is the introduction, while Part 2 considers the theoretical concept of sustainable development. The third segment looks at the relationship between governance and sustainable development. Similarly, Part 4 considers the relationship between security and sustainable development, while the fifth section deliberates on the challenges of sustainable development in Africa. Part 6 discusses the prospects for sustainable development for Africa, while Part 7 discusses the experience of Rivers State in driving sustainable development at the sub-national level. Of course, the paper ends in Part 8 with some conclusive remarks and recommendations. What is the concept of sustainable development? Generally, the concept of development was taken as a process of improving the quality of human lives through the provision of basic necessities such as food, shelter, water, sanitation, as the case may be, of social security. However, the link between development and environment led to the idea of sustainable development as an alternative development strategy for improving the living conditions of human population without degrading the environment. The World Commission on Environment and Development, which first initiated this concept, defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising future generations to meet their own needs. End of quote. In Africa, the African Union adopted the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, which together with the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development brought to the fore the three dimensions of sustainable development, that is, economic growth, ensuring social inclusion, and achieving environmental sustainability as the policy goals for achieving better living conditions for present and future generations. Both agendas call for action through change and transformation to end poverty, combat inequality and social exclusion, promote human rights and dignity, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy security, peace, and prosperity while tackling environmental degradation, natural resources, depletion, and institutional weaknesses that undermine the achievement of these social goals. Conceptually, therefore, sustainable development places emphasis on qualitative improvement in the living conditions of people and the need for development efforts to be galvanized towards this cause. Over the years, global, regional, and national efforts have concentrated in mobilizing for the realization of sustainable development with varying degrees of success and achievements. However, across Africa, the development path had largely been more of disappointments and shifting targets, as the majority of the continent's population is still unable to enjoy sustainable access to improved and equitable economic, social, cultural, and political conditions, governance, and sustainable development. The concept of governance is inclined to different but related definitions. To some scholars, governance is the effective exercise of political and administrative authority and control for the purpose of advancing human progress and well-being. To some others, governance includes not only the government, but also the private sector and civil society. The Commission on Global Governance defines governance as the sum, as the sum of the many ways individuals and institutions, public and private, manage their common affairs. End of quote. The World Bank considers governance as the exercise of authority or power in order to manage a country's economic, political, and administrative affairs, or the manner power is exercised in the management of a country's economic and social resources for development. The United Nations Development Programme 1997 also evaluates governance as, I quote, the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. It comprises mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interests, exercise their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mediate their differences. From a practical point of view, governance is the ability to exercise authority, political or otherwise, within a defined social jurisdiction to manage public resources, to advance public interests, and meet public needs. This being so, governance is about management and performance, the ability to make and implement decisions and policies to advance social progress, and because the expected outcome of governance is to improve human conditions, governance is often seen as the foundation of development. However, governance by itself does not guarantee human progress. What does is good governance, which among other things reflects participation, inclusiveness, responsiveness, effectiveness, accountability, equity, rule of law, and respect for human rights. Since sustainable development is about improving the material well-being of all citizens without compromising the material interests of future generations, it constitutes fundamental goals and aspirations, the realization of which is practically dependent on the effectiveness and commitment of the institutional and structural frameworks of good governance and social partnership. Furthermore, governance relates to the process of interaction, decision-making, resource mobilization, and implementation of policies to achieve social and economic goals, and therefore in control of the entire process of driving sustainable development, including harnessing and investing available resources to sustainably achieve economic growth and deliver basic physical and social infrastructure, including healthcare, education, and jobs, to advance the well-being of citizens in an equitable, fair, inclusive, and just manner. Therefore, the nexus between governance and sustainable development lies in the fact that good governance is the foundation without which human progress, be it economic, social, and ecological, cannot take place. Besides generating the stable environment, good governance also controls the entire process that leads to the realization of sustainable development. Security and sustainable development. Security is generally understood as freedom from danger or threats to an individual, society, or a country. Therefore, an individual is secure if he is protected from any physical harm to his person or property. Similarly, a society or country is secure if it has the ability to ward off external aggression, or it can prevent citizens and their property from all forms of security threats, including crime and violence. Naturally, the state or government bears both legal and moral responsibility to guarantee and ensure the right of people to a secure existence is guaranteed and enjoyed by the citizens to the fullest. However, security concerns have since shifted from the preservation of national and internal security to encompass human security, which ties the security of the state to its capacity to meet the livelihood needs of the people. Decades ago, the UNDP had correctly observed that, I quote, "The concept of security has far too long been interpreted narrowly as security of territory from external aggression. For most people, a feeling of insecurity arises more from worries about daily life than from the dread of a cataclysmic world event. Will they and their families have enough to eat? Will they lose their jobs? Will their streets and neighborhoods be safe from crime? Will they be tortured by a repressive state?" The purpose of human security is to protect the vital core of human lives in ways that enhance human freedoms and human fulfillment, which means protecting fundamental freedoms that are essential to human existence and creating the political, social, environmental, economic, military, and cultural systems that together give people the building blocks of survival, livelihood, and dignity. Thus, for man, security means much more than the absence of war or the presence of military force. It includes and extends to other vital ingredients such as access to education, healthcare, human rights, the right to healthy environment, and the ban against needless arms proliferation. According to UNDP, human security borders on 7 elements: economic security, health security, food security, environmental security, personal security, community security, and political security. While poverty, unemployment, and lack of access to social safety nets are some of the common threats to economic security. Inadequate supply of water and sanitation, the prevalence of diseases, pandemics, physical and emotional violence, inadequate access to child and maternal health care, bad roads, and broken transportation system are unknown threats to healthy security. Also, lack of adequate or high cost of food, insufficient nutrition, and failed agricultural policies are considered as potential threats to food security, while lack of protection against war or threats of war, violence, crime, banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, rape, drugs, child and gender abuses constitute threats to personal security. Air, land, and water pollution and lack of access to sanitation are some veritable threats to environmental security, while the breakdown of social systems constitutes threats to community security, just as lack of respect for human rights, the rule of law, and human dignity, and lack of credible electoral systems are threats to political security. Like governance, security and sustainable development also link together in a mutually interdependent and reinforcing relationship. Where there can be no security without sustainable development, the latter is meaningful or acceptable only when it results in human security. It therefore means that human security is both an existential precondition and dynamic process for sustainable development. As an existential precondition, it advances the inherent interests of peoples and society to be free from pervasive threats to their rights and freedoms, safety, and improvements in their standards of living. In this context, security actually equates sustainable development. As a dynamic process, human security implies the measures and policies necessary to realize a wholesome state of existence that is characterized by freedom from pervasive threats to the rights, safety, and livelihood of people. This being so, the provision of security is as well a precondition for the creation of the peaceful and stable environment for governance to function and implement the necessary policies for advancing sustainable development. Indeed, there can hardly be security amidst starvation, peace building without poverty alleviation, and no true freedom and development can be achieved on the foundations of injustice. What this means is that security, in its extended connotation, is an inherent part of sustainable development, and the extent to which governance and policymakers are able to tackle the economic, environmental, and social threats to human security also determine the level of development a country could achieve and sustain, as sustainable development cannot be achieved in an atmosphere of economic chaos, social conflict, or social disorder. Challenges to sustainable development in Africa. One of such challenges is the crisis of good governance. Why is it a problem? Africa's young and fast-growing population requires jobs, infrastructure, and services to prosper, which only a purposeful government can provide. We all know that security, stability, and progress demand responsive governance. This is key. One of the challenges of sustainable development in Africa is the crisis of good governance. Crisis of good governance. Because you require a purposeful government to provide jobs, a responsive governance to provide infrastructure that will make the people to prosper. And so, if you don't have good governance, you will be lacking in all this. And when it's not in place, it becomes one of the problems to sustain development in Africa. Environmental sustainability and eradication of poverty cannot be achieved by wishful thinking. Only a determined and committed government with the right policy measures and effective resources mobilization can. Only a determined, committed government with the right policy measures can solve this. Not a government of promises, like what we have today. People told me to come. So if I hope you are telling me to come is to share, is it not? Because what we have today cannot be said to be a responsive government that will provide all this. All we are hearing every time, excuse one, excuse two, it's terrible. It's terrible. So if you don't have a responsive governance, you will not have environmental sustainability because it requires good governance. Also, productive and progressive investment in social and economic infrastructure such as railways, roads, sea and airports, education, healthcare and social security are made and driven only by sound and sustainable government policies and reasonable financial commitments. So, a sense of social justice, equity and inclusion is fundamental to achieving peace, security, and sustainable development, which only good governance can guarantee. You cannot have this if you don't have good governance. You can't. And you cannot talk about sustainable development when you don't have good governance. It is practically impossible. Thus, among other structural and social variables, nothing can be more relevant to the progress of society than the practice of good governance led by visionary, effective, and transformational leadership as essential precondition for effective democracy, the rule of law, sustainable development, and enhancing the living conditions of ordinary people. Unfortunately, poor governance and bad leadership models continue to characterize Africa's political, economic, security, and social landscape. As a commentator once argued, Africa's problem is that it has never known good governance. Africa has never known good governance. And that is one of the challenges that we are having to keep our sustainable development. While this may be an extreme view, the fact is that most African countries are less than impressive in the implementation of the sustainable development goals, and lack of good governance remains the primary reason for the crisis of development across the continent. African states cannot continue to rely on over-centralized and personalized forms of government, lacking in true democracy, responsiveness, accountability, the rule of law, and judicial independence, equity, social justice, and inclusivity. If you don't have this, you don't need to expect to achieve sustainable development. Because these are the ingredients that will enable you to achieve sustainable development. I'm sorry, people forget when people say, look, zoning is unconstitutional. But you know what's called equity. Equity. In order to bring peace, in order to let everybody be part of it. But the moment you begin to think that this is your own exclusivity, that nobody else, then it becomes a crisis for you to achieve sustainable development. Social justice. When you begin to see some people, to deny them certain things, that will lead to insecurity. And when there's insecurity, you cannot achieve sustainable development. Take, for example, when the Igbos are crying to say, look, in appointment, you don't recognize us. What is wrong in listening to them? What is wrong in sitting back and saying, look, we are all one. We want this country to be together in order for us to achieve a sustainable development. Because some of these, if you don't include them, some of them believe that they are not part of the system. Now, take for example, with all due respect, when Mr. President said 90-something% of whatever will go to only those who voted for him. That alone will create crisis. That is not part of good governance. I mean, I don't expect a president of a country to say, I will only remember those who voted for me. That is not democracy. That is not democracy. Politics or party is a vehicle that takes you to a destination. When you get there, you come down from the vehicle. I was voted governor under PDP. The day I took the oath of office, it is no longer PDP. It is about the people of Rivers State. It is no longer that local government. That local government that is not giving me 25%. No. It is no longer that. It is about every local government. All the 23 local governments that make up Rivers State. But today, in this country, most states or most ethnic groups have been denied the opportunity to be part of the system. That cannot be good governance. And without this, you cannot have sustainable development in Nigeria vis-a-vis Africa. In Nigeria, for instance, centralization of power and lack of fiscal decentralization have resulted in poorly functional subnational states and local government areas, which are largely determined by resource dependency, chronic budget shortfalls, and institutional limitations to deliver on their responsibilities for economic growth and provision of infrastructure like education, health, and whatever, and improve the well-being of citizens. I cannot agree more that Africa's progress towards sustainable development is limited by the continent's failure to get it right with challenges of governance. Good governance is a central factor, is key to achieve sustainable development. Africa must therefore first get its governance system right to make serious headway in the realization of the sustainable development goals. So one area Africa must do, or what they must do, is to change our governance system or get it right in order to achieve sustainable development. Lack of appreciable economic growth, allied to good governance constraint, is the limited economic growth with which to drive development. Apart from being the world's slowest growing region, Sub-Saharan Africa also risks falling further behind the rest of the world with very slow economic recovery, occasioned by the lack of access to COVID-19 pandemic vaccines. Although the African Development Bank has posted a somewhat positive 3.4% real gross domestic product growth for Africa in 2021, the International Monetary Fund saw this figure as grossly insignificant to the continent's growth and development needs. Also, Nigeria unexpectedly posted an impressive 5% GDP for second quarter 2021. But like other extractive resource-dependent countries, the sudden and impressive increase in GDP is strategically suspicious as against the less than 1% performance of the first quarter. At any rate, the much celebrated GDP growth translates to little real economic values and anything to applaud given the prevailing high inflation, prohibitive cost of stable food items, ever-increasing debt profile, the free fall of the naira. This one is every second per second. The naira falls per second. Rising unemployment, embarrassing mass poverty, and the federal government's apparent lack of capacity to mobilize reasonable domestic revenues to fund development. What this tells us is that despite the optimism about Africa's possible economic rebound post-COVID-19, the continent will continue to need hundreds of billions of United States dollars in external funding, including loans to support its future growth and development needs for the next 5 years. And as we all know, reliance on external loans and development financing erodes independence on resource application. You know, when you borrow, there are conditions attached. We go to China and borrow. China must be the contractors. I'm borrowing you, I'm paying you, as we have agreed. But one of the conditions, we must be the one that will carry out this work. So apart from the interest you are going to make from the loan, you are also making money from doing the work. You see the problem? Because you have no choice. It erodes the independence. You must do what they said you should do. If not, you won't get. Even Chinese people will go to prison and bring out their people. They come here, they say they're engineers. Prisoners. And come and give us. That is what you suffer. That's what when you do borrow. You've lost your independence. You've lost your independence. I hear there's another one that's sending to National Assembly again. About $650 billion to borrow. Let them not borrow for my children too, my children. You see, that's what happens. One day, when you read debt profile of state, I called the debt management board, I said, office. I said, why are you saying that River State is owing 300 something billion? Who borrowed the money? Because as far as I'm concerned, the only money I now know that I will be owing is the 25 billion I've just made a request. But you know this money was borrowed during the military days and interest. They borrowed for my children, borrowed for my grandchildren. That is the problem we're having. So this borrowing now, the government is doing, in the next 20 years, if the borrowing can be translated to what you can see, then you can say, well, it has changed our environment. Our living conditions have improved. We have quality education. We have good healthcare system. No doctors on strike every week, every day, every month. So what's the essence of borrowing? When you cannot take care of the healthcare system, when you cannot take care of education, ASU is on strike tomorrow. non-academic staff on strike the next month. So this police should be translated to something we are seeing. I told the commandant as I came, I said, this is the school that other African countries come to. Institute of Security Studies should be a world class. Should be a world class. I don't understand what you told me before they will sack him. What do you want me to say? Looking for assistance. Meanwhile, the federal government is borrowing, you know. They are looking for assistance from other states. I said, what kind of country is this? Haba. Look at our school. Look at our school. Institute of Strategic Security Studies. That should be a world class. Nobody will look into all these areas. All will look. Borrow $1 billion from railway here to there. Borrow $2 billion from single guys, I don't know what it call them. Borrow this $2 billion from Calabar to this. Ask me, all of you. All this you are building, where are the goods that is railway? Where are the goods? Every day, Central Bank will tell you, Anchor borrowers, we have spent over 117 billion. Where are the food now? Every day, the cost of food rising. Yet Central Bank has this 100 billion for agriculture. For agriculture. This our agriculture is on paper. It's on paper. Don't be deceived. I know you are deputy directors. You are part of the policy makers. Even this thing you are coming to study here now, what will you do with it? Because you see, I said this country is a country that would like to dramatize. At the end of the day, this Course-14, you will stay and write a report. Is it not true? You write a report, they will carry it. For them, they have done their own work. We have sent you to go and study. That's part of budget. They will liquidate the other one. What is the essence of sending you here when they will not use what you have come out with? I've not seen a country like Nigeria that does not like research. You are spending how many months? How many months are you going to be here? 10 months away from your homes. And you crack your brain. After cracking your brain, nothing comes out of it. It is only in a country like this that you can see this. May God help us. I didn't hear you say amen very well. When you shout a loud amen, God will come down to help us. Because this country now is only God. If it's this one, we are faith. It doesn't matter wherever you belong to. If you belong here, you know you are faith. There's nothing you can try to convince anybody. Yes, when I will come to issue, I will tell you the role most of you have played to kill democracy in this country, to kill the rule of law. We'll come to that. Riverside as a case. Experience, you know. I said, you know what it's time to come and talk? All these ones are general. It is the experience that you want, is it not? We are coming there. We are coming there. Three, the huge gap in infrastructure. I wish to also mention severe infrastructural deficit as one of the serious challenges to sustainable development across Africa. It is undeniable that improved infrastructure would facilitate increased national, regional, and international trade, reduce the cost of doing business, and enhance Africa's competitiveness in the global economy, which in return will enhance the continent's economic transformation through industrialization, increased economic growth, employment generation, and sustainable development. However, despite some noticeable improvements in the last decade, Africa's deficit in key infrastructure, including energy, road, rail, and air transportation, as well as water, is still huge. From the statistics, the road network access in Africa is only about 34%, while over 600 million, representing less than 40% of the population, have access to electricity. Similarly, internet penetration is as low as 6%. Access to water and sanitation is also abysmally low, while only 5% of agriculture is under irrigation. Indeed, a recent World Bank study found that sub-Saharan Africa suffers 2% points reduction in national economic growth and cuts in business profitability by as much as 40% due to inadequate infrastructure. The reason for this deficit is partly due to consistent underinvestment in the provision of development infrastructure, coupled with environmental and other social and governance challenges. It is estimated that about $93 billion is needed annually over the next decade to overhaul sub-Saharan African infrastructure, out of which $60 billion should go for new infrastructure, while $30 billion for the maintenance of existing infrastructure. The challenge of insecurity. Every citizen has the right to a secure existence through the protection of lives and property, and all states have a constitutional or legal obligation to guarantee and protect the right to security. Physical insecurity, therefore, occurs when people easily vulnerable to bodily harm, loss of life, property, or livelihood as a result of the failure of the state to provide adequate security for its citizens. Several countries in Africa, including our own dear country, Nigeria, continues to experience severe security challenges from multiple and diverse sources. For years, terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, header farmers clashes, cross-border arms, human and drug trafficking, and the drastic effects of climate change, including deforestation, desertification, flooding, pollution, food shortages, and high population growth, have continued to fuel internecine conflicts and causing untold human sufferings, including despair, destitution, poverty within the sub-region. States in conflict and security crisis will necessarily transfer more resources toward military and combat purposes rather than providing for the welfare needs of citizens. When states are in conflict, of course, it's estimated, it's believed that instead of using this money for the welfare of the citizens, you have to push this money to the military and other security agencies to make sure they protect citizens. This is the living and protected experience of Nigeria and other countries in Africa, as people cannot go out and about with their daily business and social life without any fear of harm to their lives and property, with considerable consequences and drawbacks to sustainable development. The World Bank estimates that civil conflicts cost developing countries a reduction in GDP growth rate, while countries in protracted crisis could fall over 20% points behind in overcoming poverty. While the challenge of insecurity is huge, efforts at combating same across Africa have largely been ineffective. If weak or ineffective political institutions are seen as incapable of managing social tensions successfully, then it is a lot more difficult for an over-centralized and often politicized security and policing systems to deliver effective physical security in mutually suspicious multi-ethnic societies as we have in Africa. Therefore, while good governance holds the key to effective security, there's also the need to address the pressing issues of physical insecurity through policy and legal measures that provide democratic oversight, control, and accountability at all levels of government in order to create and sustain the necessary peaceful and secure environment for sustainable development to take place across Africa. Prospects of sustainable development in Africa. The entire gamut of human progress, including economic growth, physical and social infrastructure, employment generation, improvements in livelihoods, security, poverty reduction, and sustainable development is largely dependent on the availability of natural resources and social capital. The developed nations all progress to where they are using the factors of production as the foundation and drivers of income, wealth, and development. Fortunately for us, Africa has been projected as one of the most promising continents with a huge potential for growth and development. Two factors, the availability of natural resources and human capital, readily account for this profuse optimism about Africa's future economic greatness and egalitarian rebirth. Arguably, Africa's natural resource endowments in gold, diamond, uranium, oil and gas forests, fisheries, biodiversity, and wildlife, and with over 60% of the world's uncultivated land, are huge, extensive, and intensive. Natural resources extraction and export presently accounts for over 30% of Africa's GDP, and in spite of vigorous drive for alternative sources of energy, Africa will continue to profit from increasing global demand for natural resources, including oil and gas and solid minerals. Furthermore, agriculture is not only the mainstay of Africa's economic development, accounting for over 65% of labor employment. The appetite for Africa's agricultural produce across the world remains huge and unmet. Accordingly, investing in Africa's vast stretches of unused arable land alone is more than sufficient to stimulate economic growth and guarantee food security, not only for itself, but also for the rest of the world. Yes, we're aware of the challenges we're having, but that does not mean that everything is gone. No. With the kind of natural resources we have, with the kind of land we have, it's enough to even feed the whole of Africa and even the world. So if we're able to tap on this, then there is hope. Then there is hope. Although these resources are not evenly located across countries, what is factual is that every country in the continent has more than enough natural resources to effectively harness and sustainably drive its development. Take, for example, Nigeria. God has blessed Nigeria with all kinds of natural resources. It's our ability to tap. It's our ability. See what is happening in Zamfara. It's not our good. So, God has blessed us that these things exist. It's just for us to develop the capacity, have the right good governance, right policies, to be able to put institutions in place that are strong. You will see that we'll be able to achieve all this. Not institutions that been personalized, not the one that will compose of
ethnic or religious groups. No. Those who have the capacity to man this institution, allow them to operate, give them the independence, you will see that this country will be one of the best as far as this world is concerned. The other positive factor for Africa's sustainable development lies in the human capital. Human capital. Africa's population is young, active, and growing faster than any other continent. And with over 15% of the world's population, Africa is a large trading market which the world cannot ignore. Our human capital. No continent in this can ignore Africa. It is not possible. The missing link is the capacity to transform Africa's growth potential to reality through appropriate macroeconomic policies that could lead to responsive and effective technological-driven and value-added investment in natural resources extraction, agriculture, and infrastructure. So this is all about sustainable development in Africa. So we'll go to the main topic. Governance, security, and sustainable development. The River State experience. So write it down. Write it down. This is the major thing we are talking. Leave Jura, Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea. Governance. So this is where you want to tap the experience, eh? Okay. The experiences are not too good, but it is good to hear it. As a sub-national government, the River State government is under constitutional obligation to deliver public goods and advance the security and well-being of the people. As a government, we are under obligation to deliver public goods, advance the security and well-being of the people. Like I said, it is not to those who are in PDP. It is not to those who are in the right side. It is not to those who are neither of the sides. But it has to be everybody in River State. It does not matter the religion you belong to. It does not matter if you don't have any religion. But as far as you do business in River State, as far as you live in River State, as far as you come to River State, our government has that obligation to provide security for the well-being of the people of the state. When we came in 2015, we inherited a state that was financially depleted and very close to bankruptcy. Because as at that time we came in, workers were owed salary, pensioners were not paid, contractors were not paid. So it was a problem. And to us, there was no handover. I never had any handover note. So I have to start from anything you see. You can't believe it. You see, governance has been personalized. I am not good with you. I did not support him to be governor. Therefore, there will be no record of government. There will be no record. But if it is where institutions are made strong, it does not matter whether you as a governor you are going or not. The record must be there, is it not? But everything has been personalized, governor. Don't send out any document. Bring all. And as you are leaving, no document for the coming government to look into and know where you have stopped. Know the challenges so that the next government will be able to see how they could help to move the state forward. You know, Nigeria is one funny country. How a democratically elected governor in the history of Nigeria will take padlock and lock the courts for 2 years. 2 years. The courts were shut down in Rivers State. And you know the implication of the courts being shut down for 2 years. The last day that the courts were shut down, a woman that was pregnant was charged to the magistrate court. And the man said, I joined the matter to Monday for granting of bail. On that Monday, the courts have been shut down. The woman put to bed in the prison. You can imagine that child, when the mother will be telling that child, you were born in prison. We, the governors, were too powerful. The president, too powerful. If the governors were not too powerful, how can a governor dare think, contemplate a whole arm of government, the judiciary, shut it for 2 years? Tell me what will be the fate of businessmen, those who have problems with their contracts. How do they go for determination of who is wrong or right? But you know the judiciary in the country couldn't say anything. Anything. If it were an advanced country, that individual can never even talk about holding a public office. Can't. But you know the worst, but do you know the irony of the word? When I came and I opened the court, the man who shut the court was the first person that filed action. I don't know what I'm sort of saying. You see the irony? You shut down the court for 2 years. I came now and reopened the court. You now came and filed action in court to ask for your fundamental human rights. That human right that you denied people for 2 years. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Is it a good experience for you? You locked court for 2 years, preventing somebody that was supposed to have bail to go and have a child in the prison. Now, another government has come and opened the courts. Then you have come to file action for a fundamental right. That is the irony. The legislative was shut down because NJCC, we have recommended Mr. O to be the Chief Judge. We have recommended Mr. O to be the Chief Judge. The president said, no, instead of this person to be Chief Judge, the court will not work. Nothing happened. This is Nigeria. All-powerful executive. Is that the worst of it? Security men were also sent to go and make sure nobody enters the court. I don't understand. I don't understand it. Security men will be told, make sure nobody goes, and you will do that. It's because you're obeying what? Authority. It's not authority. So there's nothing called unlawful order. Every order is lawful. That is Nigeria for you. You won't do it, you will do it because you don't want to be transferred to go to a place where nothing is happening. That is where we are. You know, I can't understand. You know, by your job, by your training, you can't remain in one particular place. But look, I tell people, nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Why are you afraid? They will post you to where there's only one table. No problem. No problem. If it is the will of God, there's nothing you can do. But I know that that can never be the will of God. I have seen people out of punishment, they come out stronger. I've seen so many people. I don't want to make one example. He's a security man. He's a security man. He came, he said, look at the police. I said, don't worry, go. Go. After about 3 years, he was sent to the most of the juiciest place. He called me. Okay. You know, this God will serve is great. Oh. I said, see. It is your time. That's why you are here now. If it's not your time, I don't know you can do. Don't worry about the punishment. I don't even understand how a security man will be told to go and carry ballot paper. And the security man will happily, in fact, they even suggest it. Did you understand the point? You people suggest it now. You see, people, I will come to that later. It's a bad experience. Very bad experience. You see, in Nigeria, you see a whole armed forces of Nigeria. In those days, when we were growing young, you respect the armed forces. You respect them. You hardly even see a soldier. But now, they now do election in the barracks. They carry all the materials. Then, assuming such person is made a leader in the country, what's going to happen? What is going to happen? There will be no law and order. There will be no law and order. You people watch the television. Our Nigerian soldiers, in the daylight, will break into INEC to carry materials. If that is the system, how can we attain the sustainable development? Where there's no law and order, where there's no respect for the rule of law. Today you go to court to seek for the release of a detainee in the SSS. They will not obey the court order. What a country. And then you want to achieve sustainable development in the lack of good governance. There cannot be good governance when there's no respect for the rule of law. Because obeying court orders, obeying court judgment is like fulfilling the rule of law. And when you don't obey, what is the implication? We'll come to that later. Six years into governance, we can boldly say that we are delivering not just on our promise to build a new river state, but also the thematic issues of good governance, security, sustainable development to the best of our capacity and commitment, and as expected by the citizens who gave us their mandate. Our achievement is anchored on good governance, on providing security. From the very beginning, we were clear and focused on our mission to commit to good governance, fix our economy, and mobilize available resources to overcome our developmental challenges, tackle poverty and human security through the provision of basic physical and social infrastructure, and build a state that cares and works for all who live in it. Our priorities were well defined and people-centered. Our approach was comprehensive, systematic, and transformative, as you will see below. 1, strengthening democratic governance. For us, the starting point was to restore good governance to the state. Consequently, our very first actions in office were to restore the judicial and legislative arms of government to independence and effectiveness. We immediately reopened the courts and inaugurated the State House of Assembly to restore the rule of law, participatory and inclusive governance in the state. We did not only restore the functionality of the judicial and legislative arms of government, we also ensured their independence and autonomy to freely manage their affairs, execute their projects, and discharge their responsibilities without interference from the executive arm. We have beheld the first state to ensure the practical independence of the judiciary at a sub-national level under the present democratic dispensation. You hear when Jusun, or what do they call them? They went on strike, is it not? You hear when I said, what are you going on strike for? They say it was the national directive. National directive how? How? If state A is not allowing the judicial independence, what is my problem? Why should I suffer? That's why we are saying we are not practicing true federalism. What is my problem? That Anambra State is not allowing the legislature to be independent. What offense has Rivers State committed that Rivers State should suffer? I can't understand. He said it is, well, what do you call it? What, esprit de what? Is that the proper esprit de corps? Benue State University, for example, are on strike. Rivers State University is going on strike because they have not paid Benue teachers, for example. But Rivers State has paid their teachers. And then you say you are going on strike in sympathy. What kind of country is this? That's okay. If you go on strike, I will not pay you the salary. You know, sometimes in your last, people say, oh, I prefer heaven to come down now. Because we are tired. We have been praying that we are going to heaven. Now the heaven has come down. Do you have any other problem? What you have been praying, fasting, has come. So I told them, I will not pay your salary for 2 months. And I didn't pay. I said, go on strike. Because there was no basis. As I speak to you, we have made it as a law. There's no judge in Rivers State that can retire without having a house. As I speak to you today, every judge in Rivers State today can boast of having their own houses. Every judge. And it is not a law. It is not something that this government can come, will not implement. No, it is not a law. We are building our own judicial institute to train our judges and magistrates to complement the efforts of National Judicial Council. We are not taking over their responsibility, but we know the services that these judges and magistrates render impact directly on the people of the state. Therefore, there is the need for them to have continuous training. Anytime the NJC invites them, we have no problem. Anytime they invite them, make sure you have, at least in a year, a judge should be proud to say, I have had 7 conferences in a year. That will help their career. That will promote efficiency. Funds are released immediately to them. In fact, I can tell you this authoritatively. If we have entered into what they negotiated in Abuja here, in fact, my chief judge came to me. He said, please, it's like if you sign that agreement, what you are getting, you can't get again. I said, because what they sign is pittance. I release their overhead every month. I release their capital expenditure. If as I speak to you, the capital expenditure of judiciary for 2021 has all been released. In fact, when my chief judge came, they only them, I said, I've had of releasing your capital expenditure. He said, well, you have, but we'll say, okay, that will be supplementary budget. Well, because you want the system to work, the governor has that capacity to look inwards and see how funds can also be raised. That's what they talk about independence. So by having this, you are creating good governance. The legislature has the monthly allocation. In fact, before I came this morning, I have signed the release to the Accountant General to make sure the month of October should be released before the 1st of October. When you see a legislature for Rivers State and you see our own legislature, you'll be angry. You'll be angry. You'll be angry. So it's a matter of what do you want? Are you committed to what the oath of office you took? Do you have passion for the job? I don't understand how, as a governor, I'll be in Abuja for 48 hours. Doing what? What am I doing? 1 week, 2 weeks. Why? To go and meet deputy directors or directors to help me. What kind of system is this? To go and greet Mr. President. That's what you came to stay 1 week. And have a handshake. Then when you come out there, you go to the press. I was led by God. This our God, don't suffer. You know, states have become beggars. Beggars. No state can on its own think out of the box. And how do I improve my entirely generated revenue? Every state, no state is poor in this country. No state is poor. It is this overdependence on federal government. At the end of every month, they send the Accountant General, Commissioner of Finance for FAC. Nobody wants to sit down and think. Look at your environment. Look at the environment. Look at the opportunities that are bound. And bring the enabling law that will make you to survive. I looked at it and I saw what the federal government was collecting is not their own. It's not their own. VAT is not their own. That has nothing to do with loyalty. That has to do with obeying the Constitution. That's why we say we're on democracy. It has nothing to do with against state A or state B. No. No state, just like human beings, all over the world, in terms of capacity, in terms of advantages, every state has its own advantage and disadvantage. Every state. In America, Houston is the capital, is the oil city, is it not? But the biggest economy is the Californian economy. But they don't have oil. But Houston has oil. So it depends on your ability to take the one that you have advantage and boost your state. After all, there are states that are disadvantaged in terms of flooding. Yes, and one of the states, go to and say flooding everywhere. Look at the terrain. Those may be disadvantages, but they are also advantages. So any state that tells you we are poor, that state, and I keep on telling them, if your state is poor, why do you want to be governor? Your state is poor, you want to run second term. What are you running second term when there's no money in your state? And they deceive you people. They tell you our state is poor. It's just like in those days when we used to have zonal allocation in local government. So we went to meet our governor, Dr. Peter Odleden. So, Your Excellency, we're having zero allocations. He said, yes, he does. Yes. Your Excellency, you know, there is need for us to go back second time. He said, second time? When you're having zero allocation, what will you be doing? You know what to tell him? Half bread is better than nothing. You know, so you know this is a country that you know that this is poor your state is. And you are going to worry yourself when there's nowhere to make money, to get money to move your state forward. You say, oh God, I thank you. I can't carry these problems again. I can't. Yeah, if there's third time, they will still go. Do you understand me? If there's third time, they will still go. Yeah, there's nothing in the state. So, we must show that we are committed, and part of the commitment is to give good governance. Now, at our own level, to tell you, we did not even limit our support for the judiciary in the state. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. I didn't bother because there are federal courts. No. But I'm the governor of the state. I knew when they built that rickety court, they say federal court, 1970 something. A state like Rivers. As a governor, I said no. This is also affecting the delivery of justice, dispensation of justice. There was only about 2 courts, federal courts. And after Lagos, another area that's so congested in cases commercial cases is Port Harcourt. So what I did, I met the Chief Judge of Federal High Court then. I said, my Lord, I know that it's not our responsibility, but it affects our state. Therefore, we are going to build a new brand Federal High Court. That was when Justice Alta was the Chief Judge. It has nothing to do with the state. But who are those that go to Federal High Court in Port Harcourt? There are those who are living in Port Harcourt. Is that not correct? Those who do commercial cases are those whose business are in Port Harcourt. So I must have to contribute to justice delivery. We did not end there. If you see our Court of Appeal before, it was something you cannot even put your leg. You can't. I cried even as a lawyer. You said I'm a bencher. I'm not just a bencher, I'm a life bencher. So put it well. There are benchers and there are life benchers. So I'm a bencher, but I'm qualified as a life bencher. Life for life is for life. Now you go there. You say you pity yourself. I said, look, plastic chairs where judges will sit. The rain, oh God. I said no. I wrote to the chief, to the President of Appeal. I said, look, this is Port Harcourt. We can't have this. And they agreed. I don't know how many of you have visited Port Harcourt to go and see the Court of Appeal. Totally different. The Industrial Court was in Bayelsa. 80% of the cases are from River State. The security risk of people from River State going to Bayelsa every day over labor matters. I wrote to the President of the Industrial Court. I said, no, I know that you will say you don't have money. I'm ready to build Industrial Court in Rivers. So I don't want my people to be going to Bayelsa. Risk of motor accident, security. No. They agreed. And I built one of the best industrial courts and forestry. And their residents. Because those are things that will even fast track, promote business in my state. And when business is thriving, I'll get more revenue. Is it not correct? I get more revenue. So, it is not because it falls under the federal government. No. Who is suffering? The people of Rivers State. So, it is my core mandate. It is my obligation to provide security, welfare of my people for their well-being. Two, creating the enabling environment for economic growth. For us, there's no better way to stimulate economic growth than creating a positive environment for investments in our state. We also embarked on some pragmatic economic policy reforms that again opened up the state for trade and investment. We reduce our debt burdens, introduce a transparent and payer-friendly tax system. When we came on board, our monthly revenue, entire revenue, 4 billion. But now every month, if I want to sit out 10 billion, I tell the chairman, like I will sack you. For 4 billion, we are now 9, 10 billion. So, whatever they bring from Abuja, they call it a federal, what do they call it? I don't know. I don't even know the name of it. So whatever they bring, I'll still survive. That is why the kind of infrastructure we are building, it's not infrastructure where you don't back it up with the front. No, no one project, not one will stay. I will finish everything before I leave on 29th of May. In this 1 year that makes it 6 years, 10 flyovers, 10, and built by Julius Berger. Go to Port Harcourt today. Don't say you are told, don't see on television, because there are a lot of wayo in this television thing. People don't know them. I have seen, I don't want to talk too much. When you come to Port Harcourt now, you know that, yes, that was the garden city of those, we are bringing it back to bring the garden city. Go and see the roads. And when you hear you are given a contract, all of you know the quality of Julius Berger. All of you know how expensive they are. Do you understand me? For you to come out on national tele to say, Julius Berger is my contractor, you feel happy. Is it not true? It's not those that they won't tell you who are the contractors. Some of them, their family members are the contractors. They will not even tell you the cost. Every contract given, I will say this is the cost. And I pay 70% upfront. 70% upfront. Because one of the problems for having proper budget, project execution is lack of funding. I tie most of the projects to the internally generated revenue. Take, for example, the Trans-Calabari Road, which is a major political road. Any governor that comes to if you want to be governor of Rivers State, you will tell them you will do Trans-Calabari Road. At the end of the day, not Trans-Calabari. So, as I came, as I will do it. And I said to be done in 14 months. What did I do? Simple. Lubricant construction. You come. Sign an ISPA with us. Every month, they collect 1 billion. 14 months, 14 billion. And that's the cost of the job. So, do they need to come and pay me for the entry certificate? No. They don't even see me again. Because at the end of the month, 1 billion into their account. And for me, my job is moving on. Because they have also signed, they must. So they don't even wait. They know that at the end of the month, money has dropped. The body, Corner Road, 18 kilometers by CCECC. I told them, look, sign an ISP with us. Take 1 billion naira from my IGR every month. The job is moving. Ahuda road dualization. I said, Julius Berger, sign an ISP with us. The job is 9.something billion. Take 700 million every month. By 10 months, it's 7 billion. By 12 months, 8.something billion, is it not? By 13, 14 months, money finished. Delivered. And they are working there and night because the money is coming. If you have passion, you must develop a strategy that will make you provide the infrastructure, the enabling environment that will make investors to come to invest. If there are no roads, no investor will come. Is that not correct? I mean, how will the investor come? Is he the one to do the road for you? No. So you must provide a conducive environment for your economy to grow. It's very, very key. So we have provided that enabling environment. Security is tight. You know, in those days, you read front page of it, 14 people abducted on their way from Owerri to Port Harcourt. You need Punch tomorrow. 25 people adopted from from Rumuji to Bayelsa. Oh my God. Oh my God. The STS director is here. He's here. Ask him the security situation in the state now. Ask him. He put out troop into Port Harcourt. I don't know what you're doing in Abuja. Finish this year study and come to Port Harcourt. And come to Port Harcourt. He knows the kind of security equipment we provide, our relationship with the security agencies. Ask them. Is here? Ask the Commissioner of Police. I don't know of any state. I don't know. Maybe Lagos. In terms of relationship and support for security agencies in any state. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know that. People should not transfer him now because I said this. You know, that's what I found out in the system. And he works well. He tells me, Excellency, we need this equipment. It does not have enough money. We need this equipment to aid my work. And it's our responsibility. Because if we don't, then the environment will not be suitable. There will be crisis of security. And that will not allow investors to come. So these are the kind of things we have been able to do. One, democratic governance, align the structural institutions to be strong to perform on their own. Two, you create an enabling environment to make the economy to grow, to allow investors to come in. Three, you have to prioritize the kind of infrastructure, physical infrastructure. Is key. You know, some people carry out projects, let it be that I'm the one, I went to Dubai. I saw one monorail. Man, let it be that you built in my own time. What is the impact of that to the economy? From where to where? From where to where? So it is key that you must prioritize your infrastructure. We prioritize our infrastructure. What we did the first day we came on 29th of May 2015 was to tell Julius Berger and CCECC to make sure there's no pothole in Port Harcourt. With all the OGRAs, go to town, now go there. That is prioritized. Because, first of all, what else a visitor of a state is a capital, is it not? The visitor has no time to go to the other local governments. It is what he or she sees first in the city that informs him or her what the state is like. Is that not correct? So if somebody comes to Port Harcourt now, from the airport, potholes everywhere, roads are bad. The person will say, is it Port Harcourt? So I will not allow that. So the first point of call is as you are coming from airport, it tells you how the city will be. So the first thing we did is to make sure that the roads are well done for people to change the landscape. When I came in 2015, I never abandoned any of the projects awarded by my predecessor. I completed all. All. Now, but there was a campaign. Oh, after all, we started that project. Is it what matters? You should even thank me for completing the project. Because what is running in this country is you wanted to start your own thing. Government is a continuum, is it not? It's public funds. It's not your personal funds. Who are those who are going to suffer? The people. The only one I did not attempt is the monorail. Because I called stakeholder meeting of the state. We have spent 54 billion on that monorail. So when I asked, how much will it take to complete? Said about 35 billion. I said, it's not me. It's not me yet. There are other things that are important for the people of the state. If it is this one, let it remain. I cannot carry on this one. How can I do something, it's something billion of 1.5 kilometer monorail? I don't know. So I did not, because I did not award this contract. And I allowed those contractors that were given the job to continue. To continue. I can name them. I can name them. RCC, when you get to where you call Garrison Junction, went to the whole of Transamadi, they awarded to them, but they did not pay the contractors. When I came on board, I signed with RCC to be collecting 1 billion every month. That job was awarded for something billion, but I paid out to RCC over 30 billion. And that road was commissioned by the former head of state, Abu Bakr. Go and see it. Which road that was awarded that I did not complete? While I've completed those, I now started awarding new roads, and which all must be complete before we leave in the next 19 months. Our urban renewal is first class. So, I do know in our budget, I think it's only my state that has 70% capital and 30% recurrent. But civil servants like 70% recurrent and 30% capital. But I insisted, you have had this enough. That's why projects everywhere is because 70% of our capital, of our budget, goes for capital expenditure. 30% goes for recurrent expenditure. That's why you go to River State, you go left, road. You go right, road. You go front, health center. You go your school. And that's why when Mr. Vice President came, he said, Mr. Project. I said, thank you, sir. I didn't know that, even from the other part, we proceed it. So there are things you cannot deny. Because I have passion to contribute. Because if it was to write exam, I may have taken last. So it's a privilege given to me by the people of the state. I'm not the most intelligent person. I'm not the most handsome person. But through the grace of God, using the people to make me to be the governor, then I owe them that duty. To make them to be happy. And in doing that, you must have the passion. There's no project. As I stand here, I don't need to call my Commissioner of Finance. I don't need to call my Commissioner of Works. I can tell you every project, their cost, and how much we are paid. Because I'm directly involved. As I leave back to Port Harcourt now, I will not go to the house or to the office. I will go to 1 or 2 projects and see what is going on. I don't want the commissioner to tell me, Your Excellency, we are doing well. No. I don't want that. I want to go and see by myself. There is no day I will leave office. I will not touch 1 or 2 projects. Sometimes I will be at the project site. I will call the commissioner responsible. How now? Fine. How is that project going? He doesn't know I'm there. He says, I said, Commissioner, why are you telling lies? I'm here now. I said, come here. I'll wait. You come. I said, okay, tell me what you told me on phone. I'm sorry, Your Excellency. I'm sorry. You are sorry. Now, are you not ashamed that I have trust in you and you cannot tell me the truth? Do you know you are deceiving the people that elected me, through which you got your appointment as commissioner? You are hereby fired. Because you don't understand that we owe an obligation to the people. You don't understand. And when leaders don't have that passion, don't understand the obligation, they are not personally involved. They are not personally involved. But when they take it upon themselves, I can tell, if I'm a president, Minister of Works, where are you? Before he comes, we have made arrangement with Chief CSO and the rest. Let's fly to Anambra. Let's see the second Niger beach. You will enter a helicopter or airplane. We'll land there. It does not cost me anything. It does not. So most of the leaders don't even know the state or the status of whatever project they're carrying on. And for you to do that, you must have a leader who has the vision, a leader who loves his people, and a leader who is committed to doing that job. It is very, very important. Very, very important. So it's not a question of politicking. It's not a question of party. It's a question of, okay, see, throughout the creation of Opopo, you have heard of Opopo Kingdom. Have you heard of Opopo Kingdom? Ancient Opopo Kingdom. King Jaga, you've heard of it. Since their creation, they've never seen road in their life. Hundreds of years ago, when Opopo was created, they have never seen road. But I was determined, I was committed. I said, it doesn't matter what it will cost. Before I leave office, I would have been the governor that made the Opopo people not to go by water, but to go by. Today, I'm so happy to say that that vision has been materialized, that vision has been fulfilled. And what makes you happy? When you see that the people are happy, you are happy. The day I was going to Opopo, when I saw the children from school, something they can't believe. They go through by boat to Port Harcourt. The risk in their waterways. It is very expensive to build because you need to carry pontoon, to carry sand, to carry blocks, cement. Today, they drive. And you say, I shouldn't be happy. I should be happy very well. So when you have made the accomplishment, you feel fulfilled. And that is leadership. It's very key. Good leadership will give you good governance, anchored on rule of law. Anchored on rule of law. Greater emphasis on social capital development. Greater emphasis. As Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. End of quote. I say it again, Franklin Roosevelt said, we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. We believe this statement is true at all times and for our state and country. Our state, our country, and the world over are full of life-changing prospects and opportunities. As a government, we believe in the transformational power of education And our commitment is to provide and prepare our youth with the knowledge, skills, and values that they need to be imaginative, creative, productive, provide leadership, globally competitive, and be self-reliant, which is necessary for sustainable development. Over the last 6 years, we have invested, and let me say, out of the 70% of capital, apart from works, the next two sectors that took chunk of the capital estimate is education and health. Education and health. I'll come to that. Over the last 6 years, we have invested enormous time, effort, and resources to respond to the challenges access to quality education as part of our development and transformation vision targeted at making Rivers State not only the most educational advanced state in Nigeria, but also globally competitive. Accordingly, we have ensured consistent increase in the education budget from 5% to 17% in 2021. We are one state that has accessed all our matching grants. You know what's called matching grants? Okay. UBE, Universal Basic Education. Now, for any state, assuming for this year, what the federal government is bringing is 1.5, right? Right? Now, for that money to be available to you, you must also bring 1.5, which makes it 3 billion, right? And then you have to provide a working document what this 3 billion will be used for. The schools, the furniture that you use for. Now, since I came on board in 2015, I have assessed all these funds to 2021. There are many states that have not assessed for the past 10 years. And it is an opportunity for you to build, rehabilitate, and furnish and equip basic education. As I speak to you, primary school, junior secondary school, not less than 300 have been rehabilitated, have been rebuilt and furnished all over the local governments. Where, as I speak to you now, they are awarding the contract for the 2021 grant. I'm sorry if your state is one of those states that have not been able to access. Another fundamental thing is it may not be too expensive, but poverty is a problem. Every child, Rivers, nobody pays for Wike fee. Nobody pays for NECO. Nobody pays for JAM. This is being done by the state government. 2, nobody in our primary school pays for school fees. It's not allowed. But I told parents, you buy the school clothes, uniforms. Everything cannot be free. When you give somebody everything free, the person does not work well. So we have been able to subsidize by saying, don't pay school fees. Well, it is your responsibility to buy a child or ward slippers. Is it not? Or sandals. Government cannot carry everything. This we have gone. Now, in terms of, politicians, they like opening of new universities. When the one you have, you're not able to fund it. There's nothing wrong if the funds are there in order to create access to tertiary education. So what we did in our own case is, look, Rivers State University, now that it has been amended, it used to be Rivers State University of Science and Technology. And so National University Committee, NISS, refused to give them more courses outside the core mandate. So we have to amend that to make it that something that is now open so they can have more courses. Like now they have Faculty of Agriculture, these management sciences, social sciences. So what I did, I said, look, the space is no longer going to contain this. Therefore, I shall approve for the construction of 3 more new campuses in 3 local governments, so that you can also take development to that local government. You can imagine where today you have Faculty of Social Sciences in Ahuda local government. You have Faculty of Agriculture in Eche local government. You have a Faculty of Humanities in Emehua local government. Now, I gave to each of them 3 billion. That's 9 billion. Not half. A minute, once. Is it easy? $9 billion at once. Go each, open these new campuses, take 3 billion, huge for the faculties. So that I can also drive development. Students will be there. It will create economic activities. People who are living in that area will start having restaurants. Right? You can see the multiplier effect. So not only are you creating assets for education, you're also stimulating the economic activity of those local government areas. Creating employment, which of course in turn reduces the unemployment and reducing the social vices. That's what we did in terms of education. You may not believe it. You may not believe it that a very university was created in 1967 does not have a university that runs medical sciences. Can you believe that? So, having medical professionals and other related courses became a problem to the people of the state because they can only go outside and that will be high competition. Then, for example, University of Port Harcourt. It is not only Rivers people, because it's a federal university. So I said, okay, as I came, we must establish a faculty of health sciences that run medicine, pharmacy, and other allied courses. Now, when the College of Dental and Medical Council came, and I asked them, they told me, look, the requirement to do this, for them to approve, for you to start, it is not going to be easy. Therefore, they cannot allow them to start with more than 20 students. That's okay. Assuming I comply by making sure all these things you are talking about are provided, can you approve 100 to start? They said they are not sure. So there's no need of answering that question. They are not sure that government can, but they have seen government making promises without fulfilling it. So when you approve, it becomes a problem. I said, look, why are you worried? I said, okay, Chairman of Governing Council, the Vice Chancellor, how much do you need to have these basic departments equipped for you to have this number of students to be admitted immediately to run medical courses? They said, look, they need building for faculty of Basic Clinical Sciences, Department of Pathology, this and that and that. How much will it cost you? They said 7.5 billion. I said, okay, come tomorrow. I can release 7.5 billion to them. Immediately, in 2 weeks' time, the medical and dental college wrote to them, we have approved 100 students for you to start with. And as you go to Port Harcourt, go and see. So, in the next 5-10 years, Rivers State will be supplying doctors to most of your states. I did not end there. No student in Faculty of Medical Sciences will pay a dime. Rivers State government took care of that. We have partnership with Pamo University of Medical Sciences, which is a private university. The only university, one private that only runs medical courses and other allied courses attached. I said, look, to make sure we have more medical doctors and other professionals, every academic section, Rivers State will take not less than 130. And we will pay their fees. So every year, we pay the fees of Rivers children who are in Pamo University of Medical Sciences. Now, when you combine 130 every year, combine 100 starting from Rivers University, so you are talking about 230 in a year. Now, take in 7 years' time, how many medical doctors that will be of Rivers indigents? And they are going to graduate the first sort of the students from Pamo Medical University on the 18th of December this year. So, and I said to the university, as I leave, I will pay all their school fees in the next 7 years so that nobody will drop. Nobody will drop. So, you see, that is what we have done for the health sector. Today, we have the Mother and Child, which is the only hospital that's for mothers and children. It was commissioned by the Minister of Health. Now, but why are we not using it now? Because we are trying to have a private-public partnership. We don't want to say government people to come going to die. So we want to lease it out to a private person. They never share with them what government will be paying as a subsidy for Rivers people, for Rivers mothers and children that are going to that hospital. Because you know, part of the problem we have today is our civil servants, which is part of it. So these are the kind of things we think we have put in place in order to make sure. Now, look what has happened in health. Health used to be 4% of budget. We have increased health to 13% of our annual budget. As I speak to you, we are building the best, or if not the only that will be, cancer and cardiovascular disease diagnostic and treatment center. That is being built by Julius Berger at the cost of 25.9 billion. And we have paid 70% of that money. By May next year, God willing, the Commandant will invite him to come and see. Because every time when you do cancer, heart diseases, is a problem for us. Sometimes you don't have where to diagnose, not talk about treating. So we're building a world-class cancer and cardiovascular center that will be diagnostic and treatment at the cost of 25.9 billion, and 70% have been paid upfront. Now, these are the things that you should provide in order to create sustainable development. We have the contributory health insurance scheme by law that makes it for anybody who wants to be a part of it. Because if you don't have health insurance, it's also risky, because you don't know, I can tell when you may not have money with you. But while you participate in it, you can go to any of the hospitals and your health insurance will cover you. Now, the issue of security, as I said before, which is key to creating sustainable development, has to do with our government providing security. Now, under Nigeria's constitutional framework, control and management of the entire security sector, including internal security policing, falls within the exclusive responsibility of the federal government. Security is in the exclusive list. Security is not in the concurrent list. Neither is it in residual. It is in the exclusive list, which is within the purview of the responsibility of the federal government. Although elected governors are tagged the chief security officers of their states, the lack of constitutional or legal oversight powers over the control and management of subnational security commands, especially the police, continue to impede effective coordination and implementation of state security policies and strategies. So, I don't see governors as state or chief security officers of their states. They are not. They are rather chief logistic officers. Chief logistic officers. It's true. I cannot have control over the SDS director. I have no control over the CP. Yes, I don't. In fact, at one state that has had not less than 15 commissioners of police as I came on board, police appointment was being politicized. They bring those who will rig election for them, not to manage security of the state. In fact, sometimes the cities don't see me. They see me in the midnight. Why? They don't want to be transferred out. What kind of a system that a commissioner of police cannot relate with the so-called chief security officer? Input. Appointment of CP's posting is no longer based on competence. It's based, who do I know? It's based, where do I come from? It's based, what religion do I belong to? And that erodes competence, efficiency. And with that, it cannot have sustainable development. When you give people who do not have the capacity to be in charge of security, when you give people who do not have the passion to work for their country or their state, the issue of insecurity will continue to be in place. I have never wasted time to wait for the federal government to give me support before I know what to do. Never have they given me any support before. Things happen in other states, they send them, what do they call them? What do you call them? Special forces. I didn't call them special forces. I cried and cried and cried. No way. In fact, this the new IG, I don't know how God touched his mind. They brought me one special force. But I must thank him. You see, you don't politicize the issue of security. If you do, you pay dearly for it. And that is part of the problem we're having today. Both in the state and the federal level. It doesn't matter what anybody will say. There are areas you don't compromise. In fact, I was shocked. When the last service chiefs left. I've never seen a country like this. At the height of this insurgency, everybody was saying, not as someone was saying, we have lost confidence in you. If you have to go, Nigerians have lost confidence in you. Mr. President, you have to go. You must listen to public opinion. What are people saying? It's not a question of, they said, I will not do it. They will think that because they said it. No. National Assembly said so. National Assembly passed a vote of no confidence for the inefficiency. But unfortunately, too, the National Assembly screamed and confirmed them to the ambassadors. That is the country we're in. That is our country, Nigeria. You are the one who said people are not efficient, they don't have the competence to fight insurgency because they are professionals. So is it diplomacy that they will come and do? I'm sorry, they are your brothers, they are your sisters, but the truth must be told. In fact, I have told my wife, this one, our life, is a supposite. Thank God enough. Because where we are is a period, whether you speak or you don't speak, you will die. So I prefer to speak and die. Instead of me not to speak, I still die. Because it is part of the challenges of sustainable development. When the people cannot be protected, when the people are afraid of even going out to find their daily bread because of insecurity, then that country is doomed. It's doomed. You know what pains me is when a country, when it has gotten to the point of bandits attacking critical facilities like going to the barracks, then you know there's danger. You can attack people on the road, but for you to enter the barracks of security agencies, to enter the NDA, then there's a crisis. There's nothing anybody can defend on that. For them have to have the capacity. Then we have to take the issue of security very, very serious. There must be interchange of information, intelligence among the security agencies. But here, they are fighting among themselves. SSS will have He has no confidence in the police. He said the police will leak the secret. Oh, the IG will say, oh, the chief of army staff is interfering in my work. Our own case is person instead of the institution. Nobody can stop it. You must exchange intelligence. You must work together. There must be synergy amongst the security agencies. Working together, sharing information. It doesn't matter whether I like the face of IG. It doesn't matter whether I like the face of DGSSS. It doesn't matter whether I like the face of Chief of Army Staff. It doesn't matter. We are talking about institution. We are not talking about the person. We are not talking about the individuals. No. So it's important that we must get it right in order to solve the problem of sustainable development. For us in the state, we have provided logistics, operational vehicles, daily support for security agencies in order to tackle the issue of insecurity. We have set up security outfits like Operation Sting, C4I, well equipped to do their fighting against robbery, court-related matters, kidnapping. We cannot say we shall end crime. No state, no country can say you can stop crime, no. But the ability to know when something will happen and stopping it, or the ability, even when the crime has been committed, the ability to arrest and prosecute those offenders. So people begin to have confidence. But where the police arrest kidnappers, and before you know, the kidnappers have been released, then who will come and give evidence? Everybody's afraid. Some are afraid if we tell the security people, they will leak the information to the corporate. So in essence, part of our problem in terms of certainty or the tackling issue of insecurity is those within the security system that are known as saboteurs or informants to the criminals. And if you don't identify that, then it will be a problem of solving insecurity. You must, as a matter of policy, have a strategy to know those people who are sabotaging or who are working against the interests of the state. You must do it. If you don't do that, then you solving the problem will take you a very long time. I mean, I have seen, with all due respect to you, where in our system, they want to go for operation. And they said, look, as well, leave it like that. We don't want these people to know. So when there's no confidence, it is difficult. And why is there no confidence? That section of the security agency should know, should have a new brand, so that people will not be losing confidence in them. It's key to solving problem of security in our country. So these are experiences that we have had and what we have done to solve some of these problems that will lead to sustainable development. So what I'm giving you is my own experience, very good and bad. And if you look at it holistically, that is also what's affecting Africa. as a whole. Leadership problem leading to crisis of good governance, issue of insecurity, not providing the enabling environment that will stimulate the economy to create jobs. If you don't have all this in place, then you can't talk about achieving the sustainable development goals. You cannot. Conclusion. We are happy. I was thinking, I was thinking that I still have about 40 more pages. Conclusion. Goal 1 of Agenda 2060, 3 Dreams of Africa, to be a prosperous continent with the means and resources to drive its own development with sustainable and long-term stewardship of its resources. We have shown from the discourse that Africa has both the framework and the resources that are needed to transform the goals and aspirations of sustainable development into reality, to drive and achieve universal peace, security, and prosperity for its people. The people of Africa are industrious and resilient enough to exploit Africa's abundant opportunities for development. By all accounts, African leaders are struggling to make the required positive change in the lives of their people, and in many countries, these efforts are bearing some positive fruits in resolving the age-long challenges of underdevelopment, poor economic growth, lack of infrastructure, poverty, insecurity, and climate change. However, other challenges, lack of effective governance and human have continued to diminish the efforts of Africa at achieving developments that are economically inclusive, ethically sound, and socially equitable. The failure to achieve human security is an albatross that engenders disillusionment and costly civil conflicts that threatens not just the well-being of citizens, but also the very existence of states from within. Africa must therefore summon the political will to address the fundamental issues of good governance and human security, which are the basic preconditions for accelerating the realization of sustainable development across the continent. To this end, I am persuaded to suggest that Africa must address the factors limiting human security and sustainable development by strengthening its governance systems to enable visionary political leadership through democracy and effective and inclusive governance based on the rule of law, judicial independence, and respect for human rights, human dignity, and social justice. Ensuring that the electoral process must be transparent, fair, and credible at all levels of the democratic process, guarantee the emergence and institutionalization of credible political leadership and governance. To build a strong, independent, efficient, and effective public institutions to advance and implement and enforcement of public policies on peace building, security, socio-economic inclusion, and equitable governance. Creating a positive environment for investment and economic growth through sound fiscal and macroeconomic policies, integration into the international economy, attracting foreign direct investment in export business activities, stable legal environment, stable energy supply, and investing in quality infrastructure to support economic growth. We must also scale up investments in agriculture and food security and small and medium-sized businesses to create employment and prioritize human and social development, including healthcare, education. And finally, ensuring social justice with viable policy initiatives to close the wealth gap, eradicate poverty, reduce inequality and exclusion through equitable and inclusive distribution of the nation's wealth, and holistically and pragmatically address all security threats to human lives, property, and livelihoods. And finally, relying more of using political rather than forceful responses to the resolution of civil conflicts and legitimate agitation for social, economic, and political justice. Thank you for your attention. Please be seated. Be seated, please. No, sit down.
Thank you very much. The Commandant, eminent members of faculty, distinguished participants, you will agree with me that our erudite guest lecturer, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, has presented a very insightful, passionate, thought-provoking lecture. He did not just identify the challenges of sustainable development in Africa in general and Nigeria in particular, but using the great strides achieved by Rivers State government under his administration, His Excellency has proffered several recommendations and suggested a template for attaining sustainable development in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, for this very frank and lucid presentation, I think His Excellency deserves another round of applause. Thank you very much, sir, for that great lecture. We have come to the interactive session. Your Excellency, sir, the participants will be itching to interact with you and ask one or two questions. With your permission, sir. Okay, we'll take 4 questions. Thank you, sir. One from each syndicate. We have 4 syndicates from the participants. Thereafter, we will interact with the faculty. Syndicate 1. Kenneth, please.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Kenneth Kofi Dako from Ghana. I understand the seaport in your area is saddled with some security challenges. And these challenges go a long way to affect your revenue generation. I would like to know from your outfit what you are doing specifically to ensure peace in the area in order to enhance revenue generation. Thank you.
From Syndicate 2, Abubakar Husseini.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Abubakar Husseini. I would like to actually acknowledge the courage of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, who nicknamed you Mr. Project, despite political differences. Having actually seen your passion, determination, and distinction with which you manage the affairs of Rivers State. In your presentation, sir, you have highlighted a lot of shortcomings. Can you actually please summon the courage to also acknowledge the positive strides of the Buhari-led administration, federal government, in terms of national unity, development, and stability? Thank you, sir.
Syndicate 3, Johnson Ojogbane.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I am almost going to formalize my indigenization to Rivers State. I married from there some 29 years ago. I'm from Kogi State, from EFCC, sir. You are called Mr. Project, like my colleague just said. And that, to me, is very impressive. And I've seen it myself. I go to Rivers a whole lot of times. Let me ask this, sir. Do you use need-based analysis approach to determine priority projects for the people of your state? Need-based analysis. Thank you, sir.
Syndicate 4. Lowell.
Your Excellency, my name is Yusuf Lawal from the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. Let me first acknowledge the fact that when you gave directives for free application form for JAMB candidates, we had to ask you whether it was only for River State indigents. But you replied that no, it's for everybody in River State. And not only that, on the same day that we met you, you gave us three units of 3-story buildings, all completely furnished. Not because it's a state matter, but even though it's a federal government issue, you were looking at education and you acknowledged the fact that yes, you were in the Ministry of Education at the time and you asked us to take everything. Thank you for that, sir. You were a local government chairman. You are a lawyer, sir. And you have talked about subnational today in your presentation. And one then begins to wonder what the issue is all about, the local government autonomy. Incidentally or coincidentally, the wife of the governor of River State is on the bench of the River State Judiciary. So what is the issue also about judicial autonomy? The information the public is getting is that the governors are the one blocking these issues. But you have reeled out today in your presentation the very robust relationship that exists between the River State government and the local government and of course the judiciary. But we are talking about the law here. Your Excellency, from your experience as chairman of local government and from your experience now as governor, what exactly is blocking these issues of autonomy for this subnational? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, participant. Your Excellency, sir, the National Institute is a very gender-sensitive institution. So the Commandant has directed that we take one question from a female participant. I invite Nadia Mohammed Susu for her, the last question.
Thank you very much, sir, Your Excellency, for the insightful lectures. It was a fantastic one, and it has changed my perception about River State entirely. Also, there's something that I was waiting to hear about, which is about SDG 5, women and women empowerment and gender equity. You didn't say anything about them at all. What are the efforts on empowering women in River State? Thank you.
Please summon the courage to also acknowledge the positive strides of the Buhari-led administration, federal government, in terms of national unity, development, and stability. Thank you, sir.
Syndicate 3. Johnson Ojogbane.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I am almost going to formalize my indigenization to Rivers State. I married from there some 29 years ago. I'm from Kogi State, from EFCC, sir. You are called Mr. Project, like my colleague just said. And that, to me, is very impressive. And I've seen it myself. I go to Rivers a whole lot of times. Let me ask this, sir. Do you use need-based analysis approach to determine priority projects for the people of your state? Need-based analysis. Thank you, sir.
Syndicate 4. Lowell.
Your Excellency, my name is Yusuf Lawal from the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. Let me first acknowledge the fact that when you gave directives for free application form for JAMB candidates, we had to ask you whether it was only for River State indigents. But you replied that no, it's for everybody in River State. And not only that, on the same day that we met you, you gave us three units of 3-story buildings, all completely furnished. Not because it's a state matter, but even though it's a federal government issue, you were looking at education and you acknowledged the fact that yes, you were in the Ministry of Education at the time and you asked us to take everything. Thank you for that, sir. You were a local government chairman. You are a lawyer, sir. And you have talked about subnational today in your presentation. And one then begins to wonder what the issue is all about, the local government autonomy. Incidentally or coincidentally, the wife of the governor of River State is on the bench of the River State Judiciary. So what is the issue also about judicial autonomy? The information the public is getting is that the governors are the one blocking these issues. But you have reeled out today in your presentation the very robust relationship that exists between the River State government and the local government and of course the judiciary. But we are talking about the law here. Your Excellency, from your experience as chairman of local government and from your experience now as governor, what exactly is blocking these issues of autonomy for this subnational? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, participant. Your Excellency, sir, the National Institute is a very gender-sensitive institution. So the Commandant has directed that we take one question from a female participant. I invite Nadia Mohammed Susu for her, the last question.
Thank you very much, sir, Your Excellency, for the insightful lectures. It was a fantastic one, and it has changed my perception about River State entirely. Also, there's something that I was waiting to hear about, which is about SDG 5, women and women empowerment and gender equity. You didn't say anything about them at all. What are the efforts on empowering women in River State? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, you may wish to take the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start with Syndicate 1, who talked about the seaports as it has to do with issue of security. I have told you that what we do and what we continue to do is to partner with the security agencies because, like I said, the issue of security falls squarely under the exclusive list. But what we can do as a government or sub-national is to liaise with security agencies. Take, for example, the Navy. As I speak to you, in order to move around the seaports as a government, we bought over 7 gunboats to the Nigerian Navy. But see again the problem there, and I said, this gunboat is for you to use within the waters of rivers, right? But you find out that before you know it, the gunboats are somewhere else. So it falls squarely within the jurisdiction of the Nigerian Navy. And we are working in partnership with them to continue to support them so that our waterways can be safe. There's nothing any state can do on its own when it has to do with our waterways. When you know to, it falls within the jurisdiction of the federal government, and the issue of security falls within the jurisdiction of the federal government. So we'll continue to partner with them. We will not lose interest. Like you said, it will affect negatively our revenue generation. And I want to say with good authority that for now, the Navy and other security agencies are doing their best to see how they curb this issue of piracy. This issue of piracy that has worried the country in our waterways. So that is what we're doing in terms of. I will take the issue of the man who says positive tribe. I didn't come here to praise anybody, but I'll take that last. Need-based analysis. When I was chairman of Obiabo and I was the president of Algon, we went to Scotland. And when we had a conference, part of it had to do with budgeting. And part of the problems we have had is our budget is not anchored on need base. And what do I mean by that? Most projects are being conceptualized by those in the office without knowing what the people want. What we do in the riverine areas, if you ask a typical riverine person, what does he want now? He will tell you, create land for us. It is a major problem. And that's why in most of the riverine areas, we have been able to create land by some filling in some areas over 40, 50 hectares. Because they do not have land to build houses. Take for example, I went to Popo in Koro, and the people said, look, we don't have land. Can you some field for us 20 hectares so that our people can build? Ogubolo, can you some field for us 25 hectares? Abalaba in Asaritoro, I have some field for them over 30 hectares. Abonima and Abonomo in Agukutoro, I have some field for them over 40 hectares. These are need-based, not what I want, what the people want. Two, I don't just do flyovers because you want to be seen to have done flyovers. You have seen the traffic congestion. How do you decongest the traffic? Experts will come to you. The only way you can decongest this traffic, you have to create flyovers in these areas. Those things are need, based on need basis. So it's not just start waking up, I want to do this. Take for example, I told you, it is the need base of the state to have a medical college that is not in existence. And look at the reaction from the people. Need base. I even forgot to tell you, one of the reasons why I created Real Madrid Academy was to train our young boys and girls to develop their skills in football. And those who cannot make it can continue with their education. In fact, we ought to have started it, but there was a serious protest by the women. Of course, it was not as if we didn't want it. You know, when you start something, unknown to us, so okay, let the boys start. There was a protest, no. They must include the girls section. And to the glory of God, we are finished now for the girls section. So this I need basis. It's not a question of, you know, you need to develop the skills of the young ones who are interested in this area. And those are the kind of things that we're doing. I went to HA, and the HA people said, look, we are suffering from Chokocho to Ibodo, which is the boundary between River State and Imo State. The road is so terrible. We can't go home. We are farmers. 27 kilometers. We must settle. So, we don't do projects because we want to do projects. Our projects are built on need. So that is that. So, yeah, someone has said local government autonomy, judicial autonomy. If you look at the Constitution, there's a problem about the autonomy of local government. The Constitution says that the State House of Assembly shall make laws for local, for the administration of local government. When it's all autonomy, I, as former chairman of local government, should talk about the autonomy of local government. What is there? I was chairman. Dr. Peter Odley never interfered with our money. He never one day. Our money straight as it comes to every state account, every local government account. As I speak to you, on good authority, I challenge anybody. I don't even know what each local government gets. I was chairman of council. Why should I interfere with their money? Why should I do that? You know, it's just that people, that's why I said, leadership is not all about control. You wanting to control everything. Power should reside within you. But it's also the problem. The federal government is muzzling the local government, the state government. The state governments are looking for a way to muzzle the local government, which is not correct. So for me, I don't thought they have money. All the whole job I thought, no, it's not money. It's not money. Don't they carry out their own budget? Don't they carry out their own budget? I don't know of some states. I want to talk about myself and my state. Every local government, no local government can say that they bring their budget for me or at the end of the month, like what I hear some people do. You give them some money. What for? Please, count River State out. Your security agencies and you've heard the level of directors. Go and investigate. Go and investigate. It's only those, I mean, how will I be party to that when I was council chairman? So I don't think there's a problem about law. But the Constitution, frankly speaking, did not. They created that problem about local government full autonomy. That is the truth of the of the matter. You talk about judicial autonomy. I have told you here, what is judicial autonomy? This is an arm of government. We have the executive arm of government. We have the legislative arm of government. Budget is being presented by the executive arm of government. It is me, the governor, that will decide what projects I will do. The judiciary has to pass on to them, to me, as executive. They cannot present budget before the legislature. No two people can do that. It's only the executive arm of government. Will the chief judge come and address the legislature of the budget day? I'm the one. In doing that, every arm of government has its own. This is the budget for the judiciary. And the law says when the money is released, the state must immediately send their own money for capital and recurrent expenditure. But you also know that budget is an estimate. If I have budgeted for 400 billion a year and I'm getting 150 billion a day, what do I do? Will I release the full money? So for me, there is autonomy for judiciary in Rivers State. That's why I told you when they went on strike. And I said, why are you going on strike? You are already full autonomy in this state. And that's why they have to apologize. I said, well, apologizing is not enough. I will take the 2 months salary first. Yes. So for us, it's not a question of my wife being a judge. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. As part of autonomy, we have sent a bill to the legislature to make it as a law. Every judicial officer on retirement must have a home. What kind of autonomy do you want again? The law has backed you. But I'm saying in my own now, you are not even retiring. All of them have their houses. So as they are retiring, they are not waiting for government. They already have their houses. Those of them who do not want, we give them money to go and build. I don't want to say the amount of money. It is very huge. So, I don't know to talk about autonomy. For us in Rivers State, we have judicial autonomy. Women empowerment. You know what I've always asked? What do you really mean by empowerment? Because, I don't know, let me just, empowerment, is it only by giving you money to trade? Is that not what you call political empowerment? You don't want political empowerment. Right? For the first time, all the deputy chairmen of local governments are women in Rivers State. All. In every local government, you must have not less than 5 women councillors. This is the only state that made that as a policy. Even though it was highly contested by the men. I said, time has come. We must give women the opportunity. As a governor, it's on record. For the past 3 years of court, women. I was the first person who appointed a woman as a chief judge. I was the second person who appointed a woman as another chief judge. The president of Customer Court of Appeal is a woman. So when people talk about empowerment of women, in my cabinet, you have no less than 4 women commissioners. In my cabinet, I don't even want to talk about special advisors. I don't want to talk about loan to women. Because it's like everything is centered on money. So we have that, we have a Ministry of Women Affairs who make sure in all we are doing, women are carried along. So you can imagine we are 23 positions of us chairman. You said there were only women. And this is not the first time. This is the second time I'm doing it. So I may not have said everything. Because if I say everything, we'll never leave here. Because I've already told the Commandant I have other meetings to us to the city. You know? So, then let me talk about the positive drive. We didn't come to talk about anybody here. What we are talking about Africa. And Africa, we're making analysis. Right? So I will not talk anything about positive strive. The mere fact that Emir Sibajo called me Mr. Project, that does not mean that I should also come and say something you didn't do, you did it. I won't do that. I won't do that. This is not a place for me. What I came here is to give lecture. I didn't come here to say, I mean, in doing analysis, in talking about the challenges in Africa, you must draw down by example. I didn't come here to criticize any particular government, but there's no way I cannot draw one or two cases of what is happening in our country in relation to the African challenges. Of course, there's no way that you can say government may not have one or two things, but that means that's not enough. That's not enough. You may have done everything, but issue of insecurity is a problem. That has dwarfed everything if you have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Please, let's give him another round of applause. Thank you. Oh, I've just been directed that we cannot take any more questions because His Excellency is in a hurry. On that note, very quickly before I invite the Commandant, Your Excellency, sir, among the participants is one of your sisters and your citizens from Rivers State. And I will want to invite her to please rise as we recognize Joy Ilerechi from Rivers State. I just heard her say, Your Excellency, make out. Thank you. On that note, let me very quickly invite the Commandant of the National Institute for Security Studies, Alhaji A.S. Adeleke, FSI Daga, MNI. Oh, okay, sir. He has directed that the Deputy Commandant, Mr. D.E. Igbeji, FSI Daga, FDC, should give the vote of thanks and appreciation.
Your Excellency, Executive Governor of Rivers State, Mr. Project, the Commandant, NISS, esteemed faculty members, distinguished participants, members of the press, good afternoon. You bear with me that we've learned a lot from the Rivers experience and what he has tendered from this morning to this afternoon. I'm sure all of us have taken one or two things home. That for Africa to overcome the security challenges, to attain sustainable development, it must be imperative that we have good governance or have those in government who have passion for governance. It is the passion that drives the achievement and the sustainability of development wherever we find ourselves. The Rivers experience, many of us have watched on televisions. Today, he has shared it with us, verbatim, face to face. There's no other experience than what we have gotten. He has urged us, we are all part of the system. And we must have that passion in our very small ways, wherever we are. We must ensure and show leadership by example. We must have that passion, that flair for others if you want to be a leader. Your Excellency, sir, I want to sincerely thank you for finding time. We know you are a very busy man. We know what it took us to convince you to be here with us because you are so much a busy man. We appreciate you, sir. I want to sincerely appreciate the entire members of your cabinet, the immediate family, all Rivers people, both in Abuja and Lagos. Congratulate you for having a governor of this nature. Thank you very much, Rivers people. I want to appreciate members of the faculty, members of the participants, and our press crew who have been here since morning. Without you people being here, His Excellency will not be here to share this knowledge with us. We appreciate all of you for your understanding and for your concern. So we don't have any other thing than to tell you that you are Mr. Project. You have enumerated a lot that you have done for both indigenous of Rivers and non-indigenous of Rivers, the state and the nation at large. I know these participants are going to benefit from your welfare. And I know with your passion for development, this institute is supposed to be a world-class institute. And I'm very convinced that you are going to start the world-class project in this institute. We appreciate you, sir. We wish you the very best journey mercy back to Rivers. One of the things that you made me feel so happy today is that you are not a governor of Abuja. There are governors of Abuja who spend 1 month, 2 months in Abuja. The second governor I'm having this experience with. The first was Sule Lamido of Jigawa State. He never stayed out of Jigawa. I appreciate you, sir. On this note, may I kindly call on the Commandant, National Institute for Security Studies, to finally give our own presentation to our Executive Governor. The Commandant, sir.
Your Excellency, first let me appreciate you immensely. Ours is to pray for you, for Almighty God to give you good health, long life, and more prosperity to do well for the government, for the people and government, for the people of Rivers State. But we don't want you to stop at Rivers State alone. Please partner with my state, or your Osun State. Please, you can extend the development to Osun State. I won't mind. And I believe it's part of collaboration and networking with one another. Whether you are governor of Rivers State, you can also be given a land and a title. I'm sure they've given you a title in Osun State, the Oni of Ife. Yes, and I'm sure we are going to give you the title from Osun State. So the institute is here, and I want to call on Joy to make this presentation. It's a plaque that will fill, you can put in a corner of your office. And remember today that you were with us at the National Institute for Security Studies.
From the Commandant, National Institute for Security Studies, we're glad to have you, and we'll present to you this plaque. We pray that you find a space in your office or at home to place it, so that anytime you look at it, you will remember you're coming to this place to deliver a lecture. Thank you, sir.
Sir, you were just talking about the port, and you mentioned about Gulf of Guinea indirectly. Last year's team was on Gulf of Guinea, so this will enrich your knowledge further on the Gulf of Guinea and some of the challenges we have there. And this is the search of peace. You talk about peace and security in Africa. This will also enrich you as well. And of course, this is our journal from this. All these things are published in our institute here. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. God take you back safely to River State. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Commandant and Deputy Commandant. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the program. But just before we leave, a few announcements. We will have group photographs with His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, at the National Institute photo stand. The photographs will be taken syndicate by syndicate. So we appeal to the course participants and eminent faculty members to please, His Excellency is in a hurry, to move to the photo stand and await his coming. May we rise for the national anthem, please. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.